Good morning guys and welcome back to the channel. November is now upon us, so you know that means we've got an October reading wrap up to do. Let me just preface this by I have been on holiday. We went to Turkey for a week and then I had a week off afterwards. So I've had 2 weeks leave and we all know what that means. When you're not working, you're going to read some books. I literally had nothing to do but sit by the pool in some nice warm weather and read. So we got through quite a few this month. So just hold on to your bookmarks. I started off the month reading a hockey book that got suggested to me, and I can't remember if it was a Kindle Unlimited suggestion or if it was just maybe a subreddit one. However, I actually really enjoyed it. It was it's Breaking Point by Mads Rafferty. So it's part of a series which is going to be the Ice Hawks, but there's nothing other than this one that's just come out. Really, really liked the book. You have a star ice hockey player who unfortunately had a family tragedy hit, and that's kind of sent him in a bit of a spiral. He's deep in grief. The only way he knows how to cope with it is by partying and women. Unfortunately, that means his performance in the team is declining, and it also means that he's getting a lot of bad publicity. He has a lot of assistants that come and go that just can't deal with him. And Bella, who's the female main character, actually is the one that becomes his assistant. She sees the advert for it and it's really highly paid and she doesn't quite understand why. She has some medical debt for her mother, so she takes the job out of necessity. I really, really enjoyed it. It was a really good book. It was nicely written. The characters had a lot of depth. There was a lot going on there, a lot to unpack, but I really enjoyed that. It still had that hockey backdrop. Really enjoyed it. I actually gave it a 4-star overall, so that's how much I enjoyed it. I then continued my hockey romance and I started reading the Denver Bashers series, which is by Sarah Smith. And again, I actually really, really enjoyed that whole series. I think there's 4 books out at the moment. And obviously, as most do, it follows different members of the team. The first one is around the coach's daughter, but she is a genius and becomes the team's doctor, and she catches the eye of one of the biggest players on the team. So there's that dynamic. They enter into a fake relationship to help his PR, but also to help her father be less protective of her. I liked the characters. I liked the romance. And then gave it 4 stars. The one after that, we have already seen the character called Dirty Del. He's on an opposing team, but in this second book in the series, he gets transferred in, and obviously the team aren't very happy with him. They have a lot of history where they've taken hits, and he's been quite a dirty player to them. Also, the coach doesn't like dirty play and things like that. The coach has got quite a large moral compass, we'll say, so he actively discourages things like this or anything that might question like morals or any bad behaviour of any kind. Del actually does a lot of work with Ingrid, who's the social media manager, again to try and improve his image, and they inevitably get together. It's a really cute one. There's a lot of depth to Del's character. He falls first and he is obsessed with her. It's very, very sweet. I again put it as a 4-star. The third book is Suck My Puck. So it was Faker's Puck, Dirty Pucker, and Suck My Puck. You know, they're all puns. So this one's about the goalie, and it's the feisty neighbour. He has this superstition almost that he has to have sex before games, and then he has like a lucky charm, and that's like what he does. Him and the neighbour are at odds. They don't get on when they first meet. They have a lot of tension, a lot of friction, until they become friends with benefits, or almost like enemies to lovers just because they can. But they keep it casual. It's friends with benefits. And then she ends up actually moving in because the apartment that she's in is owned by a family member and she has to move out. That one was okay. It was I gave it a 3 stars. 3 stars for me. It's an okay read. It was enjoyable. There was nothing outstanding. There was nothing that made me go, do you know what? I really like that. 5 stars are really hard to get from me. 5 stars are ones that I normally go back and award at a later point because they're ones that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. So the next book then, and the last one that's currently out, I think there's like another 2 or 3 that are planned, is Of Pucking Course. Now this is Del's sister, And we've also met the main male character, who is Del's best friend. So his sister and Sam, Dakota and Sam, have got history anyway, in that there's been like mutual crushes, but nothing's ever happened because obviously she's Del's little sister. At the end of the last book, I think it is, she's in a relationship and she actually is going to get married. So like Sam's a little bit upset by this. Sam has now transferred into the team as well. And the book opens where the wedding's happened, they're at the reception, and her husband does like a cake smash when they're done the cutting of the cake. Despite the fact that she asked him not to do it, he still did it. And that's almost like the breaking point for her. That's when she decides, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. There was obviously red flags before that, but the blatant disrespect is what did it. So she ends up moving in with Sam. And we all know what happens when people move in together, right? In these kind of romance situations, we always know what's going to happen. It was an okay book. The first two were the better ones out of the lot. I gave this one another 3 stars. I didn't mind them. I wasn't that big a fan of Dakota. I liked Sam, but I wasn't really sold on her. Then the next book I read was Gate of Feral Gods. It's there, which is it's the fourth one in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. This is where they're now joined the 5th floor. They've got 15 days to capture all 4 castles and pop the bubble that they're in order to open the stairwells. There's obviously a lot of chaos as usual because it's Carl. This one I enjoyed, but I came out of the 3rd one struggling. The 3rd one I struggled with that, which was the Iron Tangle, and towards the end of the Iron Tangle I started to get, I don't want to say lost, but it just felt like a lot. I started to get a bit bored. So this one was a solid one. I enjoyed it. I still only gave it 3 stars because while it was good, I don't know, again, if I came out of the 3rd one just a bit disheartened. But I liked it. It may go up to a 4 depending on how I feel when I finish the series. It might be like, actually, this was the better book, once you've got that bit more of a scale. So it's a 3 stars for me. Then I read the next book in the Monster and Muses series, which is Oaths and Omissions. It's the 3rd book in the series. I've been gradually working my way through them, and they're like retellings of classic stories. This one is supposed to be inspired by Helen of Troy and the Trojan War. We've already met Jonas in the previous books. He's the assassin. He's like the English assassin that lives on the island with Cal. So we've already met him in the past. There's an ongoing feud between him and one of the more wealthy families, the Primrose family. And he's actually previously tried to kill her father. She ends up moving in with him. They're supposed to have like a fake relationship. It's an okay one. I gave it a 3 star. I didn't really like Lenny as a character. I found her a bit frustrating. I like Jonas. I think Jonas is a solid character. I like his brother, which is what I think the next book's about. I think it's his brother, the mayor. But I just couldn't get on with Lenny. I was a bit like, oh, really? This girl? This is the one you pick? And that's never a good sign for me. The next 2 books then that I read were the first 2 in the Final Girls series, which are a wild ride. They are a wild ride. They're almost like horror romance. So the first one was Slash or Pass. And this one was a masked man horror romance. There's a lot to unpack in this one. The main female character and one of the main male characters, all 3 of the characters, there's a throuple situation here, but you don't know if one of them is actually alive. There's history that goes back to them being snatched as children and being part of a cult. And there's a lot of like backstory that gradually comes out. Yeah, it's a wild ride. It's a wild ride. I gave it 3. I gave it 3 stars because it's ridiculous, but it's just kind of fun. The other Final Girls book that I read was Slayless, and it's almost a bit like The Shining. So it's a stepbrother and a stepsister that have grown up together, brother and sister. But the stepbrother realised that he had feelings for the sister, like when they were teenagers. She was getting groomed by one of the neighbours who was in his 20s when she was like 16, 17. And he killed him. So he ends up in an institution. They've been separated. They've not seen each other for many, many years. She is about to go on a writer's retreat, and he's escaped his institution quite a while before this though, but he drops into the house knowing that their parents are away and runs into her, and they've not seen each other for years. Her friend, who she was supposed to be splitting the cost of this writer's retreat with, bails last minute, so her stepbrother goes with her. And then it's just like the Shining Hotel. Hijinks ensue. It's, again, completely mental. Both of them, if you like your smut, go for it. They are a wild ride. I think I gave this one a 2-star because I enjoyed the first one more than this one. This one, again, I didn't like the female main character. She did my head in. So then I read the Where It Belongs, a Pucked novella by Helen Hunting. This one is like the prequel to the Pucked series, and it follows Sydney and Sky, who are the parents, I think, of Violet and Buck. They're like the step siblings in it, and it gives like the history of how they met. It's quite a short one, with it being a novella, but it was cute. It was cute. It's one that says it's the hockey romance, but they're kind of outside of it. Obviously, Buck is the one that ends up being the hockey player, and I think Sydney's like an agent or a scout of some sort. So it's outside of that hockey universe, but it still technically is a hockey romance. I gave it 3 stars because it was a fun time. Then, when we were at the airport, I realised that the next book in the Rookie Hawkeye's book, Bottle Rocket by Kenna King, had downloaded. So I was very excited about that because I've been waiting for this one to come out. It was, we've had both of the characters already introduced. You have Vivi, who is the best friend of the one that was doing the babysitting, the one that was like slept with the guy and then ended up being his nanny. And yeah, that one. And then Trey is the goalie, and Trey's the one that's ex-military, that's very introverted, and she is like the CEO of this nannying service. Comes from money, as we know from the previous books, and she is marrying somebody from another wealthy family, almost for like the alliance, but they're very entrenched with the same business. She actually runs out of her wedding. She doesn't want to marry him, so she runs out of her wedding, dives out of the church or wherever they are. I can't remember where they are. I say church. And Trey actually was delivering cufflinks to Keenan. So she just dives into the back of this random car, and it happens to be Trey, who then like takes her home and looks after her. What she finds out after this is because she's done a runner, she's then almost voted off the board, and that interferes with her company. She's not allowed to have anything to do with it. They take that as a way to oust her from the company. The husband-to-be is also run off with the wedding planner, and they've gone on the honeymoon. So she effectively moves into Trey's house for a couple of months and becomes the nanny. Very sweet story. Trey has got a lot of back history. He's quite a damaged individual. It's genuinely really, really nice. I gave it a 4 stars because I enjoyed it. I completely devoured it while we were sat in the airport. Then I read The Dead Guy Next Door by Lucy Score. So this is one of the Riley Thorne novel series. It's the first one. It's been in my electronic TBR for a while. It's just another one that's sort of just a wild ride. It's like a murder mystery, but it's almost a little bit cozy. She's a psychic who rejects her gifts. He's a PI who's just trying to deliver like a summons to the guy next door. And she has a vision that the guy next door is gonna die. Hilarity ensues. It is just a fun time. There's a lot of very serious things that happen, but there's quite a large element of comedy to the book, and it just makes it fun. Riley's fun, Nick's fun, the dog's fun, all the elderly neighbours are amazing. It's just a fun time. I gave it 4 stars. I actually am reading the second one, which is The Corpse in the Closet, right now, and it's like my one that I sort of just read a little bit of every day. Then I just went on like a full-blown sci-fi kick. I read the trilogy, which is Starlight Shadow by Jessie Mihalik. That's how I want to say it. Mihalik? Anyway. And those are really good. That's the Hunt the Stars, Eclipse the Moon, and Capture the Sun. And it follows the crew of a bounty hunter ship. The captain of the crew was in the war, and her crew are people that were in her squad. The first book opens where Torrin comes along, who actually was a high-ranking general on the opposing side of the war, who comes to her because she is one of the best-known bounty hunters and he needs something finding. But he also brings along some of his crew who are also in the war under him. And so there's that enemies to lovers thing going on. There's a lot of tension. There's a lot of yearning. There's like that slow burn. Love it. It was a really good time. I really enjoyed it. I gave this one a 4 star. The next one was around the hacker from the bounty hunter side and one of the the weapons specialist Varro from Torrens' team, and Key and Varro have history from the first book where they didn't get on and there was a lot of tension. She actually really likes him, but it's been unrequited, so she decides that she's going to get some space and decides she's going to go off ship for a couple of weeks, and he follows her. Again, a lot of attention and yearning between them. Really enjoyed it. Gave it another 4-star. The last book in the trilogy, because there is an overarching plot that goes across it. There's like this conspiracy going on that's a bit of a bigger piece, which culminates in the story with Lexi and Nilo. Now, you've seen them in the previous books. They again had history. They met before the first book, and he stole like a job off her. So there's like tension there. She actually really liked him when she first met him, but then she realised that she'd been played and she was a bit gutted about it, genuinely. She was pretty devastated. This one's really around them trying to work together to solve some of the mystery, and have that end to this arc. Really, again, really good. Gave it another 4 stars. I then, as usual for me, read the Consortium Rebellion, which is technically was published before the first 3, the Starlight Shadow. I was a little bit worried that this would be I'd be reading it in the wrong order, but however, they don't cross over timeline, so it's fine. So this one starts with Polaris Rising, then it's got Aurora Blazing and Chaos Reigning. These ones cover off 3 siblings within the same family. The idea being that the Consortium is ruling families within this planetary, well, within Earth, because Earth has been re-terraformed and been made better after we destroyed it, by all accounts. So the first one is about Ada. She is running because they're trying to make her marry for a political alliance, and she doesn't want to. So she's on the run at this point. She gets captured. There's a bounty on her. She gets captured. She meets Locke, and there's like an unlikely partnership that comes from that. Loved it. Locke is supposed to be a very famous, dangerous criminal that she just throws her lot in with. They're just fun together. The side characters are great. It also introduces the other family members that we see in the other ones. It gives a lot of the history of, you know, what's happening so far, and that overarching plot line again. The author does like overarching plots, which is quite nice because it links everything. Even though you are going through different couples, each couple has got a bearing on this overarching plot, so I like that. The second one is about Bianca and Ian, who's the head of security, again, that you've already met. There's stuff at play in this one. There's a mutual attraction again, and a history where he's turned her down. She was married before this book, but her husband died, and there's things that happened in that marriage that caused her a lot of damage. Ian has got a very murky past. Bianca is the one that's known to be able to get information. She finds out where the brother is and goes to find him. Ian, who's the head of security, follows her and is very, very annoyed about it. But we also get introduced to his 2 crew, so Alex and like the adopted sister. Anyway, we meet them, and Alex is the MMC in the last one. So the last book is the youngest sister who always feels like she's been written off. She's like the socialite that everybody just thinks is useless. But what you don't know, and you find out right at the beginning of the book, is that her father experimented on her. At this point, you've also met like Locke, you've met Ian, you're starting to understand a little bit about this like almost super soldier program that's been happening. And it looks like the father who was responsible for that also experimented on her. So she's got a lot of strength. She's got a lot of, again, hidden ability. And she is trying to get information, goes off world, and Alex is given to her as her bodyguard / fake boyfriend so that he can stay close to her, and they develop a relationship. It's a bit of a grumpy sunshine because Alex is very stoic. Again, loved it. All 3 of those books, solid 4s again for me. Absolutely loved them. The worlds that she's created in both those books I really enjoyed. I just thought they were really good. And I finished off the month with one last sci-fi book, which is Neon Flux, which is Ava Thorne. So it's going to be part of the Neo Stellaris series, but this is the very first book and there's no others yet. This one's a bit of a darker book. It's a bit more cyberpunky. The idea being Eon, who's the female main character, is her mother's in hospital, so she's struggling to maintain the care because she can't pay for it. So in order to do that, she works at like a strip club. She also takes on more nefarious contracts as a cyber runner. So she's working with criminals. But in order to deal with this, she's also a drug addict. But in this world, like a meteor's hit Earth, and the material in that meteor has led to development of powers. Now, she's one of the only ones that's got this like electronic power where she can almost hack into networks and feel things, but she can also like Star Wars Emperor Palpatine zappity zap zap people. So Sai, who is the corporate black ops agent, she comes up against him in the first job that we see, and realizes that he's got the same power, which is interesting. It's quite dark. It's not the funnest. I enjoyed both of the characters. I want to see where it goes because it's got this overarching conspiracy, and the end is a bit weird. And I don't know. There's like this big revelation at the end, and I'm a bit like, So I wasn't overly impressed by the end, but I'll be interested to see where it goes. So I did give it 3 stars because for the majority of the story, I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of like banter between the 2 characters. There's a lot of friction because they're almost like cat and mouse all the way through. Because she ends up working with them. She gets bribed into like working with them. But yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes, and we definitely be keeping an eye on it. So as you can see, like a lot of my month was very sci-fi heavy. But I was on holiday, so I was like burning through series as much as I could. I don't actually have Dr. Darko on here. Where's Dr. Darko gone? Oh, I completely ignored the fact that I realised I just hadn't talked about... Did I talk about Dr. Darko? I think I did. If not, Dr. Darko, Sorcerer of London by Catherine Colvin is one that I gave 3 stars. It's always recommended on Reddit as like a more gothic romance, fantasy romance. It is set in more Victorian era. It's very sort of dark and moody and atmospheric. So if you're there for that and you want a gothic romance, it's very good. It's a massive slow burn. It's a really long book. I think it's some stupid like 900 pages. It's a really long book. It is very slow burn. The Dr. Darko is a very mysterious character, which is great. Again, it's another one where I wasn't overly sold on the end. There was, again, things that happened where I was like, oh, okay. But overall, I had a good time. 3 stars. Trying to think about what my favourite book of the month was is quite hard. It's probably going to be like a 2-way tie. I loved Breaking Point and I loved The Dead Guy Next Door. Both of those were really enjoyable reads for me. I felt like they were written quite well. Probably people will probably disagree with me. But for me, they flowed nicely. There was good pacing. I liked the characters. I liked the depth of the characters as well. It didn't feel like they were too one-dimensional. Overall, I just thought those were the best ones. So pick one. You either want hockey or you want like psychic, cozy murder mystery. One of the 2. So I did really enjoy reading the sci-fi books. Felt like I needed a little bit of a palate cleanser. So the sci-fi books are always good for that. I find that if I feel like I'm getting a bit exhausted with one genre, switching to another genre anyway really helps with that. But as usual, if you have any books that you recommend or anything that you think, oh, well, if she liked that, she'll like this, feel free to drop them in the comments. Obviously, you know, it'd be lovely if you subscribed. It'd be nice to see you guys here again. I kind of want to start my own book club. So if we... Do you want to be book friends? Because we can be book friends. And I will see you next week. Have a good week, everybody.